I am very happy to be here on this occasion which touches my heart, because this song Vande Mataram and its impact on the psyche of the nation and the freedom movement, and how it molded and shaped the freedom movement, is not fully researched as yet, and it has not been properly focused, and the young minds of India sensitized. That's largely because in India we have inherited an alien tradition of understanding India, the alien model, the alien perceptions, logic, and benchmarking the aliens, and then shaping our way of looking at ourselves. This is true of all colonized societies. But decolonization in India has taken a very long time, because we are not known to be revolutionaries. The Indian civilization by nature can manage a huge bandwidth of contradiction. And so even though we may not come to terms with something which is abhorrent, we would still live with it. That is the capacity of our civilization. And I can immediately take you to a research done by Professor Ramal, a Hawaii University professor who built a huge website over a 30-year research as to how the world has been devastated by what he called as democide, humans killing humans. And he traced the history of that killing of almost 2500 years from 5th century BC onwards. And he estimated that something like 1.4 billion people must have been killed by humans in action against humans, in wars, in peace times, by way of created situations of hunger, like the British created famines in India, Bengal famine for instance. And when he tabulated the whole killings, the maximum killings took place in the 18th, 19th and 20th centuries. Some 260 million people were killed in the 20th century. But the total killing he estimated somewhere between about 660 million to 1.4 billion. But the issue is not that. He said till 13th century in India, there were only 3 instances of killings. One was the Kalinga War. The next was the instances of Thagis and Satis, which he defined as killings in tens of thousands, not even hundreds of thousands. The important point here is that till 13th century, there was only one place in the whole world where there was no mass killing of human beings. This should raise a question in our mind. How is it that when the whole world was butchering each other, ideologies, philosophies, religions, kingdoms, and we had not one kingdom, we didn't have one empire. We had 500 rulers, 600 rulers, and they were also fighting wars. But how is it that there was no mass killing in this part of the world? it is because of the capacity to manage a huge bandwidth of contradictions. Unless we understand this, what is a very abstract India, unless you concretely understand this, you will not be able to figure out who we are. In this country, Rama was great because he obeyed his father. Prahlada was great because he defied his father. We could manage this huge contradiction. Sita was great because she obeyed her husband. Meera was great because she defied her husband. You know, this requires a huge moral and intellectual view, which is from a helicopter. You view everything. Human life cannot be packaged in concrete situations. Situations vary. So you must have a philosophy which tolerates everything. You know, this requires an intellectual attitude, self-confidence to understand all this. You know, I was reading Mahabharata. There is a conversation, because you are all grown up, so I can say this conversation. So there is a conversation between Karna and Duryodhana. Duryodhana says, I am extremely happy that these 5 fellows have got hooked to a woman and they are going to fight with each other, and we need not have to do anything. They will kill each other because of one woman among them. Karna says, no, you are a fool. This lady has the greatest opportunity of being with 5 men. She will never allow them to fight. Can you believe this? You know how much intellectual analysis must have gone into that literature. So unless you see India as something which is absolutely unique, you have no comparison of India anywhere. There was one professor, Jean-Pierre Lehman. He is the IMD professor of management, and he runs an NGO of corporates with ethics. I forget the name of the NGO. And he was the advisor to the WTO, World Trade Organization, when Panich Pakti was the director. And he wrote an article in the Globalist magazine on the 30th of March. You must go and Google that article. And he described this country as something very unique, because he said, here is one country where a religious person told me that you can disbelieve in God and there is nothing wrong about it. You can hate God, there is nothing wrong about it. He said, I have not come across a religious person saying this. And he says, the greatness of this country is that it knows how to live with thousands of gods. And there was a time when the population of India was less than the population of the gods, 33 crore gods. We ensured that there was no fight between gods. We got them married to one another. Gods were in peace. You know, it requires enormous intellectual capacity for a civilization to ensure that gods did not fight. You know, single gods have fought so much. Whether your God is superior or my God is superior has accounted for 1 billion lives. As Swami Vivekananda said, whether your God is superior or my God is superior, let us have a boxing match and decide. This is the global debate. You look at India, there is a debate of Adi Shankara and Mandana Mishra. Adi Shankara was a young boy, he was almost 21, 22 in that range. And Mandana Mishra was an elderly person, a very well learned person. And the point of dispute was between ritualism or the extent to which one can have rituals. Mandana Mishra was supporting even animal sacrifices. Adi Shankara was fighting against all this. And there is a debate between the two. And Mandana Mishra says, you are such a young boy, I can't have debate with you, but still I can't avoid debate with you. So I can give you one concession. Please choose the umpire yourself. Then Adi Shankara says, I will choose your wife as the umpire. You know what is the penalty involved in the debate? If Adi Shankara loses, he must give up sannyasa and marry. If Mandana Mishra loses, he must give up his grahastha and become a sannyasi. And for which Adi Shankara chose Mandana Mishra's wife as the umpire. What she does? She says, you both of you wear this fresh garland of fresh flowers. And you begin doing the debate. Anyone's garland becoming less fresh is defeated because he has got anger, because of that there is heat in the body, because of that the flower loses its freshness. Mandana Mishra's garland became less fresh, and so she declared Mandana Mishra as the defeated person. This is the tradition of India, to have a debate. The greatest gift of India to the world is the capacity to debate, the capacity to face up to nonsense, the capacity to hear nonsense. Unless you have the capacity to hear nonsense, you cannot produce peace in the world. If you think the other man is talking nonsense and he has no right to exist, then there is violence. This is what the rest of the world has taught. And that is why in Rummel's findings, you find in 2500 years, 1.4 billion people exterminated. You must understand India like that. It's not produced by ordinary minds. The peace in India was not brought about by third-rate minds. It's all by people who have transcended the context. Unless you transcend the context with a helicopter view, you cannot understand India. Now come to Vande Mataram.